Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. And today we're sitting down with Breyel Banks, a keynote speaker, a confidence coach, and the founder of Queenhood Finance. Breyel's journey is nothing short of inspiring. From dropping out of college to returning for a psychology degree to building a coaching and consulting business that empowers leaders to show up with confidence, she's spoken at the Enterprise Agility World Conference, where her signature talk, The Power of Your Radical Mind, challenged audiences to rethink what's possible. Through her RAD methodology, which stands for Release, Align, Accomplish, and Dream, Breyel helps executives, entrepreneurs, and organizations boost confidence, improve employee engagement, and embrace authentic leadership. That was kind of a mouthful, but I got through it. So what is her mission? To radically empower millions of women and entrepreneurs to become thought leaders in their industries. Yes. Breyel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Reed. I'm super excited to speak with you today. I already know that we're about to have an amazing talk, and I just can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Breyel, you have such a positive story, and you're very inspiring. Now, you've had a lot of pivots in your own career, whether it's leaving college and then returning, trucking across America, and now you're a keynote speaker and consultant. So, what drove you to keep pushing forward? I know that sometimes when you're pivoting, it's hard to pick up and move forward.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say what has driven me to move forward and still continues to drive, honestly, Reed, is just seeing the impact that I am creating for myself and then seeing how that translates to my clients. One thing I've realized is that we're inside of a space where there are a lot of people who are talking it, and we constantly need more people that are walking it. And so I realized, like, when I put my life to the fire, when I put it to the flame, where even though I have the obstacles, when I just strive to keep going, my clients and other people are super inspired by that. So then it's like the law of reciprocity. It just gives me more fuel to keep going because then everybody else is fueled.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I know you also teach this and help others get that confidence. Let's talk a little bit about authenticity. Yeah. What would you say, and I know this is a theme that you teach about and coach others on. What would you say it means to show up authentically, and how would you know if you are not being authentic?
Great. Yeah, so I would say first, what it means to show up authentic is my methodology that I speak about, which is the power of your radical mind. And so when I think about being radical, it was actually my little cousin who told me, Breyel, you are so radical. Like, your thoughts are just out of this world, because I'm that person that if you say, like, I'm struggling with my job, I don't really love it here anymore, I want something different, I'm the one that says, well, put in your 2 months notice, go live in your car, travel to a different state that you think that you love, go work out the library, and then find you a new job, right? Like, I'm that radical thinker. So in reference to your question of what does it mean to be authentic, it just means to use your radical mind, to be inside of a space where if thinking the thoughts and you have the ideas of what you could do, then it just simply means to use your mind, right? And so, okay, baby, okay. You guys, my baby's here today.
Oh, I'm so glad. I think it's actually, he adds a lot to the
Yes, just so much personality.
He does.
Use the RAD methodology, right? So let's break that down a little bit.
Yeah.
RAD, RAAD, to release, align, accomplish, and dream. So let's go back to the example of someone not quite loving their job or someone wanting to be inside of a different space. Well, first, you have to release the fears that things are not going to work out. You have to release the limiting beliefs. You have to release the thought that everybody else is capable of living a dynamic life, but maybe you're not able to, right? After you release those thoughts, then it's time to get into alignment. And so when you get into alignment, that means surrounding yourself with others who support you, right? Release goes back to maybe your family and your friends. Maybe your wife is like, oh no, that's not a great idea. We are not about to live out our car. Oh heck heck no, right? This job is paying you $200,000 a year. We're not going anywhere. You have to stick with this. Alignment means I'm willing and you're willing to put yourself into connections with others who want to see you win, with others who say you can do this despite the odds, right? So now that you've released the limiting beliefs, now that you've also got into alignment with others who want to see you supported, next is to actually start to accomplish the goals. So maybe you don't quit in 2 weeks, but maybe you quit in 2 months, right? Maybe you don't directly go and live inside of your car.
Just real quick, Brielle, I think your mic got muted somehow. Might have been.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
there
Sorry.
it is. Okay.
We just lost like the last 10 seconds. I can edit this.
Backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, backtrack just a little bit. Mhm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So now that we have our alignment, it's time to start to accomplish our dreams, right? And so maybe you don't go live inside of your car, but then maybe you tell yourself, I'm not willing to live inside of my car, but I am willing to go back and live with my parents for a temporary amount of time, right?
Yeah.
That's still an accomplishment. Maybe you don't quit your job in 2 weeks because you just hate it, but maybe you quit your job in 2 months and in the meantime you find another job. Those are examples of being authentic, right? Because within the RAD methodology and within us using the power of our radical mind, small accomplishments still make us feel authentic. Small accomplishments still make us feel happy. And in a world where a lot of people just want to put authenticity to the house that you live in, the car that you drive, the amount of money that you make, following your heart, right? Following the thoughts and the dreams that come inside of your mind, that is really in true authenticity. So then to answer your second question, when you say, how do we know we're not being authentic? When we get to the D in the RAD methodology, which is to dream. We all have hopes and dreams, but if you're living a life that is extremely like contradictory towards the dreams that you have, that's how you know you're not living authentic. And sometimes we think that that may look like jail time, right? But
right.
sometimes the jail or the prison that we're in is in our minds and in our hearts, because our mind and our hearts are telling us, quit this job, go for something new. Yeah, you dropped out of college, but go back. You thought that you weren't worthy of love or getting married or starting that business, but you could do it. When those dreams come up in your mind and you act on those, that's authenticity. But when those same dreams come up and it seems easier to water those down and not live that, that's proof that you're not being authentic.
I love this, everything you're saying. And a lot of what I'm hearing is it sounds like, listen to your inner voice, but don't let short-term thinking just derail you. Think long-term, dream big, but also, I love like the balance between like, don't just go quit your job and experience financial ruin.
Right.
Like take a methodical approach and plan for what's next. So I love this. Now so this methodology, which I love this model, how did you develop this? Is this something that you like learned, or like is this from experience, or have you like experimented to come up with this?
Yeah, that's a great question. It seemed like it really just popped inside of my mind during COVID. During that time, a lot of people went through turmoil, but for me, it was like I had this mental awakening that happened. And I was very much so in a transition phase myself, right? As a lot of people were. We went from working inside the office to working at home. And once I was able to be at home and be in more peace with myself, that's when I saw and noticed like, oh, wait. It's okay, baby. That's when I realized like I have these thoughts and these ideas. Let me put them into action. Reed, you would not believe this. Then I just started writing a book.
Oh, wow.
And the information just started coming to me. And then it was just like, well, Breyel, what are some of the steps in life that you have had to go through to get to here? One concept that I coach my clients through all the time, especially when people come into the Business Confidence Academy at first, because when they first come in, they feel like a 4, 6 in their confidence.
Yeah.
One thing that I coach my clients to do is to write down those feelings and emotions that you're having with the turmoil of your life in that moment. Because see, once we get to the 7, the 8, and the 9, and we're feeling great, sometimes we forget the feelings and emotions that we had when we were in the midst. Well, those are the same feelings and emotions that whoever you're meant to help needs to be guided through. And so that's how I came up with the RAD methodology, because I had to think through myself. Breyel, how did you become this confident? Like, girl, you were a college dropout with 8 consecutive F's. How did we get from 8 F's to now at that time working at CarMax, associates, leading leaders? Again, I'm figuring out my business. I'm seeing how this is working from me seeing Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey started giving me these ideas like, you can be a financial coach. And with me working at CarMax, the week before I started at CarMax in 2015, my car was repossessed.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, dang, Breyel, you're kind of like a failure. Like, what's happening right now, girl? I thought we were on the right path. And so I had all of these feelings and trying to figure out what was going on with me. And then from seeing that experience, I realized it was nothing wrong with me. I just did not know what I didn't know. I didn't know how to manage money. I was never taught that growing up. So it was like I had that experience to be able to gain empathy and sympathy, because at the same job, 6 months later, I was that person calling people saying, hello, Reed. It's Breyel from CarMax. Your account is out for repossession right now. The truck is outside right now. Right?
Yeah.
Imagine if I had not had the experience myself or of some sort, I would have felt like I was possibly like up here and the people experiencing this were down here. I find that sometimes people discredit their own situations that they go through. And when we can take our shortcomings and create frameworks and guidance and strategies to help others, we will be so surprised how we can make so much forward movement in being a coach or in being a leader by simply creating a framework that helps somebody else move forward. But it has to be one that started within ourselves as well, because nobody just wants a fake game that you just copied from somebody. They want authenticity. That's how I feel with the RAD methodology.
You know, these are great stories. So, when we talk about authenticity and then confidence, you mentioned you're working with entrepreneurs to help them with their confidence.
Yep.
A term that comes to mind is the imposter syndrome. And where people, maybe they're in charge of a business, maybe they have employees, or maybe they're selling something or doing something for the first time,
right,
and they know that they can't sell unless they come across as confident. And to what degree do you think it's wise to fake it until you make it, and then that helps your confidence? Or do you feel like you should establish confidence first and then do? Like, where would you fall in that balance there?
You're such a great question asker.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult.
Gosh, these questions are so great. Okay, I think it does, of course, go back to being a person who is willing to be vulnerable and build a business off of mistakes that you've already made. Right, that helps us show up authentic. In a sense, it's just believing. When I first met my husband, Rich, he was not a fan of using the word believe because it had the word lie inside of it. He's like, we're not telling no lies. I don't like that. From us just merging and getting to know each other through love, my perspective on the word believe was that sometimes you have to believe a lie within yourself before the truth can ever unfold, right? To a person who may feel like an imposter, but you're not quite sure if that confidence is coming from within, fake it till you make it is a good term, but it's really just about believing that you will get over the temporary hump. I have a life coach right now who is really helping me impress the billionaire Breyel reality into my mind. Even though my bank account hasn't quite caught up with the billionaire status yet. He's helping me see that in times where I will shortcome myself, in times where I will see opportunities that may only equate to $100,000, $150,000, that if I just stay at that level, it'll be harder for me to reach billionaire Breyel unless I surpass myself. Saying about selling something. Oftentimes, people have imposter syndrome only because we have not seen or experienced somebody firsthand that is doing what we want to do. But if you can believe that you can be the game changer, the way maker, the person that sets apart opportunities, the imposter syndrome will drop. It's like you when it comes down to podcast and AI. In my mind, I never thought that I would connect with someone so fluently uses AI to just transform the podcast game, but here you are doing it. So of course when you give me tips, I do temporarily feel like an imposter because I'm like, gosh, that feels like so much. I don't really know if it's something I can do. But then small steps, little increments, I feel less and less like an imposter because I'm doing the work. People will always feel like an imposter if you don't do the work. If you try to take shortcuts, so imposter syndrome gets dropped by doing the work because clarity is in the doing.
That's great. So you offer a lot of practical tips to achieve this confidence and this like competency. One of the things you do is you host a workshop, Camera Confident 101, and when I understand it's coming up in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Why do you think that being on camera and being comfortable on camera is so important for an entrepreneur or business leader?
Oh yeah. I feel like it's important because even though we're talking cameras, what we're really talking about is the authenticity that it takes to really make connections with people, right? And so I know there's two sides. There's a side of business where you might have to show up on on YouTube. People want content and that's great. But then what happens when you run into somebody in the grocery store and they're like, Reed, is that you? Because all of a sudden you turn into a celebrity on camera, but when they approach you, how authentic are you? Are you really good and fluent with being yourself? Or are you social media famous, right? Or the complete opposite.
Yeah.
When people see you in person, you're so great, they can talk to you, everything is good. But then when the opportunity comes up and someone's like, hey, I would love to feature you on my podcast, I think you would be great. We can get your message out to millions of people. All of a sudden, individuals freeze because they're not quite sure how to be authentic. A lot of it comes from and this is a tough one, here it is. Working on yourself personally to recognize that who you develop personally is how you will show up professionally, right? So we're in a world where a lot of people have, what's the word I'm looking for? Like authority about themselves based on the role and the job title that a company has given them. So a lot of, especially like high profile women and CEOs, they're hiding behind the job titles, right? But these women have purposes in their life that they want to fulfill. So it's like we can get them on camera and they'll talk about the job, they'll represent the company, they'll have the company t-shirt on, and then it's like, I'm the person to say, well, I remember that you said, Reed, that you're very passionate about child cancer. So can we talk about that? And then you're like, oh, well, I can talk to you about AI. And I'm like, but I thought you were purposeful and passionate about this. That's why being on camera and Camera Confident 101 is so important, because what happens when something like COVID happens and now that job is stripped away from you? That job title no longer belongs to you. Who are you? Are you still authentic? Do you have a purpose outside of that job that pays you? And if so, can you put that purpose on camera? Can you put that purpose in video? And can you stand out in a market where AI is taking over so fast? But people still want to connect with humans. And you know this, they want authenticity. So it's like, if we don't start now, we'll just kind of be washed away like a flood in 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's continue on that just a little bit, just kind of as a last question. Now, considering that AI is just everywhere, and not just AI, but there's a lot of technology. It makes it really easy to send lots of emails. send texts en masse. Our inboxes are messy. We ignore half of those messages. What do you think are the skills that people really need to master to continue to connect? Do you think there's other skills that people need to master to stay relevant and grow in like an increasingly technology-driven environment?
Yes, I have a number one skill right now, and here it is: cold calling.
Ah,
Tough
yes.
one. I
Yeah.
know it is a tough one, but I literally just had this conversation with my assistant on Monday because she is in the Philippines and I'm in Savannah, Georgia. Obviously,
Mhm.
we're in two different countries. And I was just explaining to her, like, as I looked at the data of my business, when I looked at conversions, my new clients that I've signed in so many ways, they all came from me picking up the phone and just calling, right?
Mm,
And at first I was kind of overwhelmed because I'm like, gosh, I'm sending these emails like you're saying, and I'm paying her to send emails, and we're sending messages on LinkedIn, and I'm thinking that this is going to get conversions. But then when I look at the numbers, it's literally showing, Brielle, the way you have paved the way is by getting on that phone and being so enthusiastic and so happy about queenhood and shining through your personality, making connections, right? That is the only way that people are true, in my opinion, that people are truly going to be able to grow in these spaces. If you're okay with connecting back with humans, and getting on the phone is the easiest way to do so.
right. Well, Brielle, I think you really epitomize this. I think a lot of the technology people use because they're scared of the cold calling and try to put a layer in between themselves and
Yeah.
human interaction. And I think you do such a good job on camera. You're so personable and authentic. I think that this is a great embodiment of how we should be if we're going to do business. Brielle, you're very inspiring. I've gotten goosebumps as I've heard your stories.
Me
If people
too.
want to work with you, where can they find you? Where are the best
Yes.
places to reach you?
So we have a few places, of course. I love to connect on LinkedIn. I am a LinkedIn queen, okay? So please feel free to connect with me over on LinkedIn. I know Reed's going to leave the
Yeah,
links down. And
absolutely.
also, feel free, if you are listening to this podcast, book a call with me. When you go on my website, breyelbanks.com, book a complimentary discovery call with me, right? Mention in the notes that you heard me or you found me through Reed, right? I have a special offer for you. I would love to be that person that can help you and can talk you through your confidence. The best way, also, if you love what we talked about today, is to tune into my podcast as well, the Create and Grow Your Dream Business podcast. On my website, you can drop your confidence questions, and I love to feature your questions on my website. That way, it's still like real time coaching, and that way you can also be able to see that the questions that you may have inside of your heart and your ability to use the power of your radical mind is just as powerful and just as valuable as anybody else's. But you have to take that first step and reach out in order to really get the answers that you're looking for.
Well, thank you so much, Brielle. Please reach out to Brielle. She is truly an inspiration and just a delight in every aspect. So thank you so much for joining us, Brielle.
Thank you so much, Rita. It was a pleasure, and I truly enjoyed being on your podcast today. It has been a blast. Thank you for this conversation.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.